for coming and watching. I'm just warming up right now, just for about 30 minutes. So if you'd like to just, I don't know, watch, and if you have any questions, hopefully you might get some ideas of maybe how you can warm up in your own playing. Not only just like what to practice, but maybe how to practice. And this is just stuff that works for me, So I like to warm up pretty like high intensity. So I'll usually take like a scale pattern or arpeggio or something like that, and ramp up the tempo pretty quick and try to just be quite repetitive. It's almost like a workout in a sense, and really get the hands sort of feeling like they're starting to warm up, like get warmer, literally, but also more switched on, like the coordination, flexibility, strength, precision, relaxation, all these things are sort of like starting to be switched on during the warm-up, so that when you come to play pieces, your fingers are much more like in a good condition to do that. So anyway, I don't want to talk too much. Unless you have questions, I'm happy to answer if you have any questions about technique or like exercises or anything like that. So yeah. So I'm actually doing this right now because I'm supposed to be teaching, but my student didn't turn up, so then he's just let me know, so it's all good. Cool. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions. So one of my favorite starting exercises is to take a scale, this pretty basic scale pattern, and repeat it up the fretboard. This is from Mozzani's method. You can download Mozzani's method I'll pop it in the chat. Not mozzarella. Mozzani guitar. I think it's called Guitar School. Let's see if I go IMSLP, or maybe it's called Studies for the Guitar. I think that's the one. Studies for the Guitar. Yeah, that's the one. Here you go. So I'll put this in the chat for you. This has some very advanced but excellent exercises in it for an intense warm-up. And the second part of the book has movable scale patterns. So that's the scale pattern there. So I'm at 140. I'm swapping right hand fingers, so IM and then IA. Now I'll do try MA. I'm still trying to be relatively musical as well. Yeah. Shaping and crafting the line. One of the things you notice when you move something up the fretboard, usually the action gets higher. It's a really interesting aspect of the guitar's fretboard. The action is generally lower in the first position, in the lower positions, but the frets are more spread out. And then as you go up the fretboard, the frets get narrower, the spacing gets narrower, but the action gets higher. So it's a really great exercise for your fingers to play the same thing in different positions. So if you can play one pattern in one position, if you're able to move it up, it's a really great way to work your fingers around the fretboard. Plus it can improve your fretboard knowledge really quickly. So I usually start with something like that. Then I'll do some studies after the scales. So I'll keep it at about the same tempos, 140. And Villalobos Etude 1 is one of my go-tos, really great for the right hand. One way I like to do this is hard to talk and play at the same time, is to play slow. So I'm playing the quaver or the eighth note beat, and then thanks if you've just joined. Thanks for joining. Let me know if you have any questions. Really happy to answer questions about technique or practicing or speed or metronome or harmony or whatever. Whatever you got, let me know. But I've only got about 20 minutes left, so and I just have to quickly send us a message. Okay, back to it. Yeah, so you can drop the tempo to half, double it. What I call a speed burst, right? Kevin, hey, good to see you, Kevin. We caught up a couple weeks ago, yeah? Well, do you have any questions about practicing or technique or anything like that? Yeah, well, feel free to just introduce yourself, where you're watching from. I'm in Australia, Canada, Australia. Also try to vary the dynamics as well. So loud, soft is a good... Nigel is asking about... From India. I didn't know you were from India. Wow. Okay. Can I go through the harmony book? Okay. Yeah. Maybe I'll finish this study first, and then we'll go through some harmony. I like to sit on a chord for a while, until it feels really comfortable. All right, let's go, because I only have about 18 minutes left. So we're gonna go off on a little tangent. I hope that's okay. If you're expecting speed bursts and things, we're gonna talk about harmony. it's like my favorite topic. So usually we end up going there to some degree, because even when you're practicing technical exercises, it's great. For example, Nigel's mentioned, it is Nigel, right? I think your name's not showing up in YouTube. I'm pretty sure Nigel in the chat there asked about my book Fundamental Harmony, and in that book I have triads that you can play like this. So even though we're talking about technique, you can practice things technically that can help you with harmony. It's one of the gaps, or it's one of the bridges actually that fills in the gaps, is when you practice harmony. You've got on one side you've got is that how I say your name? How do you? I'd have to ask you how to pronounce that. I don't know how to pronounce that name. I think I was confusing with someone else. Sorry. What was I saying? So you've got on one side you've got theory, and on the other side you've got playing the guitar, and there's usually this big gulf. There's this big cliff, like in the like gap in the middle of that. There's no sort of connection between theory or harmony and guitar playing. And so one of the best ways to make a connection is to is to practice harmony, right? Practice harmony. It's really great. And if you need some resources, if you need some free resources, check out. There is another free resource with movable chords. I'll pop this in the chat. So this has quite a lot of stuff here for practicing. It doesn't have much to do with like explaining the theory or anything. There's a great quote that I really like, though. I'll bring this up here on the screen. There's a great quote by Carl Czerny, who was one of Beethoven's students. Now I need to find this. And he said that the theory of harmony, which can be gained practically through the means of finger exercises, assists us much at playing at sight or sight reading. So practicing harmony assists us much at sight reading. If I had to sort of paraphrase that. Now let me get this. I'll get this book up here. There we go. It's coming. Oop. Sorry, I'm doing this on the spot, but I love it. So anyway, all right, here we go. Fundamental Harmony. So that's first book I wrote back in 2016. My goodness, almost 10 years ago. So we have triads in closed triads, open triads, and the rule of the octave here. So in different keys, we've got quotes for each key that I sourced from different places, describing the key, the characteristics of the key, or the affects of the key, which is a really interesting study. So, you want to get, Bogdanovich's book is great. Probably referring to the Counterpoint book, Counterpoint for Guitar. That's a great book. Very different subject. Counterpoint's very different to harmony, actually. So recommend both probably, but unless he's got a harmony book, I'm not sure though. So this is very practical, right? This first part of the book, and then we have this appendix where I do describe, harmony in my own way using a lot of guitar pieces, examples from guitar music. So like, what's a triad? How do you build a triad? What can you do with triads? Inversions and spacing and practicing. What do you, so like say the inversion, you can arpeggiate the triads, all these things. You've got movable triad shapes here. That's another way to learn them. This is pointing out how guitar music is literally made from triads. So triads are like a building block. And Kevin, I'll get to the circle of fifths very soon as well. I do want to talk about the circle. It's very much related to harmony. There's lots of secrets in the circle of fifths that reveal patterns of harmony, patterns within harmony. So this is showing you how triads, like for example, this is Testament de Amelia, and at the start here, that's a D minor triad there, which is actually in the Fundamental Harmony book exactly as it is like that. It's exactly found in the piece. And then this is a B flat major triad, which is in the key of B flat, and it's not. It's actually exactly the same fingering even as here. And then over here we have. There we have a triad, which I think this one's a different fingering. So sometimes you can play them in different positions. But what I'm trying to show here in a funny way, I guess, is that guitar music is made of these triads that you practice. So when you practice these triads, it's kind of like a vocabulary. It's like these are the words that are often found in music, not the notes. Individual notes are like the alphabet, right? So you obviously want to be fluent at reading the alphabet, reading letters, but the next step is seeing the words, so seeing the chords basically, and they're very often arpeggiated, like we see here. Like this is arpeggiated, that's a chord, right? And then that's a chord there. So there's triads embedded all over the place in guitar pieces. The next one is Bach's Prelude 999. So that's a triad. That's a triad. And then, right, so that's a triad, and then that's so it's like a lot of music is constructed from triads. There's another one, Cordoba. Here's the quote that I was talking about earlier. A thorough knowledge of the theory of harmony, which may be gained practically by means of finger exercises, assists us much in playing at sight. On the contrary, he who has only a mere superficial knowledge of it, and that only in his brains, this is the kicker, will only be led the more astray. So if you, I say this, I've sometimes I'm a bit of a broken record. Sorry if you hear me say this all the time, but if you practice harmony, if you learn about harmony but don't practice harmony, if you learn about harmony only, you can be led more astray. You can actually be more confused by everything. That's how important it is to practice harmony. So if there's any takeaway from this book or from what you're hearing now, I hope it is practice harmony. Practice harmony. Okay? Practice harmony. That's just, it's so important. And that's what all these exercises, like, I think I go through, well, first of all, what happens when you start practicing harmonies? You start to see music, you start to see the layer underneath the music. You start to see, oh, this is a chord here. I don't need to read individual notes. I can chunk those. Just like when we read language, we don't read, once we're fluent with language, we don't read letter by letter anymore. And it's very similar with music. When we know chords, we're not reading note by note anymore. We start to group the notes together into chords. So you kind of start to read music like this. This is lagrima. So you start to go like that, and then you realize that, that those are the chords. And you also get greater meaning, right? We get like when we read, we need to have comprehension. We need to be comprehending or gaining an understanding or meaning from what we're reading. And it's the same in music. We want to have not just be reading the notes and reading them fluently, but also understanding what those notes and chords are and what their function are, what's the meaning of those chords and the function of them. And then that can help us with interpretation. Anyway, so there's a lot, I'm really trying to make the point in this book of like why it's important to practice harmony. And then there's some theory mixed in as well. So then like seventh chords, what is a seventh chord? That sort of thing. So dominant seventh, major seventh, minor seventh, the different types of sevenths. The dominant seventh is the most common one. The inversions of seventh chords. The inversion is only like what note is in the bass. That's what defines an inversion. So if the root's in the bass, it's root position. If the third's in the bass, it's first inversion. If the fifth is in the bass, it's second inversion. And if the seventh is in the bass, it's third inversion. And you can actually play them, right? Root position, first inversion, second inversion, and third inversion. Now, this is what makes the rule of the octave really useful. If I go flicking around here a little bit, and I only have 7 minutes left. The rule of the octave uses, this is the rule of the octave. It's one of the exercises in the book. The rule of the octave uses major and minor and dominant seventh chords in different inversions in a very specific way. It's basically following the rules of harmony, basically. So, for example, and I think towards the end in the appendix, I show the actually let me go to the appendix. I'm pretty sure it's got the analysis of the rule of the octave, like what each chord is. Here we go. Or at least here are the inversions, right? So we can see that the chords are changing inversions quite regularly, root position, second inversion, first inversion, root position, first inversion, right? So we're changing, and then I show here what type of chord it is. So there's a major chord, dominant chord, major, minor seventh, major chord, another minor seventh, a dominant seventh, and then a major. And I'm showing that there's tension and resolution. So the major chords, which are on the 1, the 1st, the 3rd, the 5th, and the 8th degrees of the scale. So the rule of the octave, I'm moving very quickly, sorry. The rule of the octave is a scale, ascending scale. So you can see in the bass, it's just an ascending scale, and each note of the scale is assigned with a chord or a type of chord, meaning is it stable or unstable. So the yellow chords are stable, and they're on the stable scale degrees, 1, 3, 5, 8. 3 is partly stable and partly unstable. 1, 5, and 8 are fully stable. So yeah, so the yellow ones are the chords of stability, and then the purple ones contain tension, and then resolution on the 3rd one, and this 4th one, tension, and then this 5th one, resolution, and then tension, and then resolution. Okay, so that's, in a nutshell, that's what the rule of the octave is all about. And theory and harmony, I'm reading the comments now, just vanishes from my brain as soon as I've read them. Yes. Yeah, practice it regularly too. Practice it regularly. Like, try to make it a regular part of your practice, routine. I highly recommend that. Make it a regular part of your practice routine. Okay, so yeah, anyway, there's a lot of information here. This shows you how each chord of the rule of the octave, you can shift these patterns up and down the fretboard. So this, where are we here? This first chord here, which is a C major chord, it's in root position. So it's at the original one is at the 3rd fret. So if we shift it up, so it's C major in root position. If we shift it up a fret, it's C sharp major in root position, and so on. If we shift it up a fret, it's D major. The root note is there on the 5th string and there on the 3rd string. And then if we shift it up again, it's E flat major, and then shift it up again to E major and F major, F sharp major. So each chord from the rule of the octave you can shift up. So then this is a dominant 7th in 2nd inversion. So if I shift that up the fretboard, the root note is G for the first chord. So now the root note is G sharp. So it's G sharp 7, and then it's A7, and then it's A sharp or B flat 7, and then it's B7, and then it's C7, C sharp 7, D7, E flat 7, E7. And then, once you start practicing a lot of these things, your fingers start to just it's like they've been encoded, right? It's almost like AI or something, like where AI is learning and it keeps learning and learning, and it's encoding all this information, and it's able to spit out things. Like if you give it a prompt, it can tell you, so it can put together things very quickly, and can make sense of a lot of information. And I think we're sort of built in that way, like we put information in, and then it can come out, it can outflow. And so if now, I've played a lot of chords over the years now, so I can sort of go, okay, well, I'm in C major, and I'll just let the fingers, I can let my fingers just kind of like improvise, just like we speak. right? We've learned a certain vocabulary that allows us to converse with each other, and we don't have to think too much about it, right? It's very similar with music. It's like you learn these like words, which are chords, and then you can converse using those chords, which is basically improvisation. So that's kind of what the book's all about. Okay, now very quickly, I've got like 1 minute, or a couple of minutes to talk about the circle of fifths. Paul, you're a chat monitor because I gave you access, Paul, to my channel. We've got helping me out with video editing and uploading. So I think that's why you're able to monitor the chat. So anyway, I hope that helps with that question about the book. There's a lot of information in the book, so I'm happy to help. If you've got questions, if you do decide to get the book, I'm happy to help you if you have questions. But there are lots of resources on that website as well, and on my YouTube channel. You could probably just by going through my YouTube channel and maybe other people's YouTube channels and things, you could learn a lot about harmony. Let's go to the circle of fifths quickly, and then we'll have to wrap it up in a minute. Circle of fifths, here we go. So there's a circle of fifths, which organizes keys or letters by fifths if you look at it clockwise. So if we go clockwise, we're going up by 5. So C is at 12 o'clock. We have the major keys on the outside and the minor keys on the inside. So C is at 12 o'clock, and then we're going up a fifth to G, C, D, E, F, G, and just going up a fifth again. And then in the middle, we're starting at the relative minor, and so A minor, excuse me, and then going up by fifths. This way, if you read it counterclockwise, we're moving by fourths. So this way, fifths, counterclockwise, fourths. If we read this way, we get fourths, right? So that's what the circle of fifths is showing us. Now there's a lot of foundational principles embedded in the circle of fifths. Probably one of the most obvious ones is this relationship, tonic to dominant. So that would be 1, that would be 5. Then if you keep building on that, so if you go counterclockwise, that's 4. So you got 1, 4, 5. And so those are called the primary chords, and they are very important in music, right? So 1, 4, 5, 1. I mean, that's already something you could practice that in, multiple keys or all keys if you want, because then if that's 1, that's 5, that's 4. If you start on G, this is the great thing about the circle. If that becomes 1, I wish I could rotate this. That'd be cool. I was thinking about how to do that. That would be 5, and then that's 4. So now G, and then C, 4, and then D's 5, and then G's 1. And so on. So if D is 1, then A is 5, and G is 4. So it's awesome for that kind of reference. And then same with the minors. So if you've got A minor is 1, D minor is 4, and E is 5. So you get the primary chords there. That's pretty neat. You might notice that all of the notes of the scale are sort of close by too. So you get C, D, then E, F, and then G, A, right? So we have most of the notes of the scale are close by, and that tells us a bit of information about chord progressions. So a lot of chord progressions you might have heard of, like 2-5-1, right? 2-5-1. You might have heard of like 6-2-5-1. You might have heard of 4-5-1. We just looked at the primary chords, right? Or whatever order of these chords, whatever order of number of chords you have, that a lot of the times they just revolve around that area. So if you have like let's say you have 6 2 5 1. So it'd be 6 2 5 1. So it's kind of like a backwards Z or Z. Or no, not a backwards one. It's like a forwards one, isn't it? 6 2 5 1. So if I go 6 2 5 1. Okay, so the neat thing about that is once you have a shape established, you can do the same thing like this: 6 2 5 1. So now E minor, A minor, D, G is now 6 2 5 1 in the key of G, and then I can keep doing that 6 2 5 1 in the key of D, right? So you can kind of like rotate that same shape, that same pattern, and you'll be able to do the chord progression in whatever key you want, in all of the keys. So that's one of the neat things about the circle of fifths there. So you can really start to see the standard chord progressions and how they work in one key, and then how you could repeat them in any other key by just starting at the new key and repeating the same pattern on the circle of fifths. I think that's probably one of the most useful uses of this circle of fifths. It's also helpful for changing keys as well. So a very common thing to do is to move through the circle of fifths, either clockwise but especially counterclockwise. So if you started on E and you wanted to go to C, you could just go E, make it a seventh, that's the dominant of A, and then A seventh is the dominant of D, and then D seventh is the dominant of G, and then G7 is the dominant of C. And you get a nice progression that way. So you go E, E7, A, A7, D, D7, G, G7, C, and I can keep going C7, F, and then F7, B flat, B flat 7, E flat, E flat 7, A flat 7, and I'm playing D flat. Now I'm playing around the whole circle, D flat 7, and now I'm at F sharp or G flat major. F sharp 7 will take me to B, and then B7 will take me back to E. I can just repeat the whole thing again. So that's a really great exercise to do, because that occurs in music a lot, that movement around the circle, obviously not going around the whole circle, but going around a portion of the circle. It occurs a lot in music, a lot. Like, it's very, very common for changing keys. So yeah, we would see that in Bach a lot, for example. Yeah, I don't want to go too much in detail, but that's just a really quick tip of the iceberg look, because we do cover this on the Creative Classical Guitarist. We do have modules on modulation, and we cover this in more detail and look at guitar music. I just don't have the time to do that now. I'd have to actually wrap it up. If you want to download, there's a 7-day focus challenge in the video description. I was going to spend more time warming up and talking about, or just warming up, but that's okay. I love the questions. There are some more free resources here. There is I put that in the live chat. So there's the analysis guide. You might hopefully find that helpful when it comes to studying music. And then we've got movable chords for practice, so you can take chords and move them up and down the fretboard. And then there's a 7-day focus challenge there. So if you'd like to download any of those, feel free to do that. Let me know if there's anything you would like, any types of guides or anything like that. I've already got quite a few, so I could add them to that list of free ebooks there. So let me know if there's any type of guide that you're after. Is it a guide for learning the fretboard, or a guide for going up to high positions, or guide for chords, more like specific type of chords, or analysis, or we've got an analysis guide there, I guess. But just, yeah, let me know. And if you'd like to join the Creative Classical Guitarist, you can apply. We've got workshops all the time going on, and members publishing their music. If you want to learn to compose, improvise, arrange, I think for classical guitar, I think, you know, we're really passionate about it. So we'd love to have you if you're considering, you know, applying for some kind of platform that will keep you engaged and motivated, inspired, and accountable. Otherwise, yeah, check out the free resources as well, and plenty of stuff on my YouTube channel, past live streams and other videos. So happy to help, and thanks for joining today. Thanks, Anne. Yeah, Anne was part of CCG recently and composed a wonderful melody, her first ever melody, and it was wonderful. It was wonderful. I actually recorded that one. Paul is another who was in the chat earlier. I'm not sure if he's still here, but Paul joined the Creative Classical Guitarist as well. Yeah, Kevin's wanting to join in January. Can't wait to have you. So yeah. Anyway, I better run. I can talk about harmony all day long.